What if the laws of physics didn't apply to everyone? Imagine a runner, not just breaking records, but seemingly defying gravity itself. This isn't science fiction. It's the incredible true story of an athlete who pushed the boundaries of human capability beyond anything previously thought possible. And her name was Emilia. Emilia Carter grew up in a town that felt smaller than it actually was. The streets curved and narrowed in ways that made even short distances feel like miles. Her world was ordinary, but Emilia wasn't ordinary. She was extraordinary. You'll find out later. She ran because the world seemed determined to define her by what she wasn't. She wasn't the fastest in gym class. She wasn't the one the coaches noticed first. She wasn't even the one her friends expected to succeed. And yet, she still ran. Early mornings were her own. She pulled on worn sneakers and stepped into streets that smelled of frost and wet pavement, long before anyone else. She ran until her legs burned, until her lungs demanded to stop, until the quiet hum of the neighborhood was the only sound around her. The solitude didn't make her lonely, it made her sharper. Her little sister, Maya, was the one person who truly understood. Although she was 7, she would sometimes follow Emilia, stepping carefully around puddles, holding back words of encouragement she couldn't quite voice. One evening, after Emilia stumbled on the cracked pavement, Maya crouched beside her and asked her gently with a soft voice, "Why do you keep going if it hurts?" Emilia didn't answer immediately. She rubbed dirt from her hands, felt the sting of scrapes along her palms, and sighed, replying, "Because I have to," she said finally. Maya's gaze lingered, soft and insistent. "Are you trying to fly?" Emilia laughed, quietly, shakily. "Maybe," she said, and that maybe wasn't magic. It wasn't defying the laws of physics. It was hope. It was persistence. And it was enough to keep her moving. Her training became her own language. She experimented with barefoot runs, stretches that no one taught, jumps over obstacles that weren't meant to be hurdles. Coaches frowned. Teachers warned. Friends whispered. Her parents worried. But every fall, every bruise, every failure became a lesson. She learned more from mistakes than successes. Every tiny improvement, almost invisible, reminded her she was moving forward. High school was a new battlefield. Teachers are too busy to notice her effort. Even her parents questioned if she was pushing too far, and yet, she ran. Every setback became momentum. Every doubt from someone else was a reason to try again. Some nights, she cried. Staring at the ceiling, she wondered if all her effort was worth it, if she was wasting her energy, her time, her life. But Maya never doubted her. "I knew you could do it," she would whisper. And Emilia held on to that, letting it pull her forward when the world tried to push her down. When the regional championship came, the crowd seemed endless. Everyone was waiting for the results. Emilia ran with everything she had, each step precise, each breath calculated. She didn't think about winning. She thought about the hours she had spent training alone, the experiments that seemed pointless at the time, the small victories no one noticed. She ran faster than she ever had. She felt lighter than she expected. She crossed the finish line exhausted, covered in sweat, heart hammering but proud. She didn't fly. She didn't perform miracles. She simply ran beyond what she thought was possible. Backstage, Maya held her bracelet tightly. "I told you," she said. Emilia smiled. That smile wasn't for the crowd, the medals, or the praise. It was for herself, for the proof that persistence matters, that refusing to quit shapes what's possible. Her story traveled quietly at first, then farther than she could imagine. Kids in other towns, other countries, tried her exercises, her approaches, the small experiments that made her different. They weren't inspired by a single extraordinary moment. They were inspired by the truth she embodied. The impossible isn't impossible if you refuse to accept it. Emilia still trains every day. She still falls. She still doubts. But she knows now that limits exist only in the mind, and anyone willing to push past them can discover the strength they didn't know they had. The months after the championship were quieter than Emilia expected. There were congratulations, handshakes, even a few interviews, but none of that compared to the thrill of training, the intimacy of pushing herself when no one was watching. Winning had proven something, yes, but it hadn't changed who she was. She was still the girl who ran because she had to, because each step was a question and every stride an answer. The town noticed her differently now. Neighbors gave small nods of recognition. Coaches asked questions with more respect, and younger kids approached her with hesitant smiles. But the world outside town, the one she'd only glimpsed through magazines, videos, and stories, beckoned. She felt it in her chest, a restless pull. There were bigger tracks, longer races, more formidable opponents. She wanted to see what else she could do. Maya remained her anchor. Even as school grew busier, homework heavier, and friendships more complicated, Maya showed up. Sometimes it was just a hand on Emilia's shoulder during a grueling set of hill sprints. Sometimes it was a quiet, "I believe in you," whispered when the lights were low. And sometimes it was an unexpected, mischievous grin, reminding Emilia not to take herself too seriously. One spring morning, Emilia ran farther than ever before. The frost of winter was gone, replaced by the smell of wet earth and blooming flowers. Her legs ached familiarly, but this time the ache was sweeter. It was the ache of discovery. Each stride felt like a small rebellion against the limits she'd once accepted. Then came the invitation. A track program in another state, one that trained athletes who had already proven themselves, reached out. They had seen her story online, heard whispers of a girl who ran as if the world couldn't contain her. Emilia hesitated, because everything familiar would be gone. But she remembered Maya's words from years before. "Are you trying to fly?" And she realized maybe she was. The new training was harder than anything she had imagined. Coaches were tougher, expectations higher, and every small failure magnified. Some mornings she felt like quitting. She missed the quiet streets of her town, the empty track behind her old school, the simple rhythm of running alone. But she ran anyway. Every pain, every stumble, every failure became a stepping stone. Each small victory, each personal best, was a reminder that she was still moving forward, still defying expectations. And then came the moment that changed everything. During a national meet, Emilia faced athletes who had been training at elite levels for years. The crowd roared. The pressure was suffocating. Her legs felt heavy, her chest tight, her mind whispering doubts she had heard too many times before. But she remembered her training, her experiments, her solitary runs in the frost. She remembered Maya's unwavering faith. She ran. And this time, it wasn't just about proving something to the world. It was about proving something to herself. Step by step, stride by stride, she pushed past the pain, past the fear, past the whisper of impossibility. When she crossed the finish line, the scoreboard didn't matter. She had done it, gone beyond what she thought possible. Again. Back in the locker room, Maya's phone buzzed with messages from kids all over the country. Videos of her training, her story, her simple philosophy, persistence over excuses. Emilia smiled quietly, a little tired, a little battered, a lot proud. She hadn't flown, not literally, but she had discovered something just as extraordinary. Limits exist only in the mind, and courage can lift you higher than any medal ever could. Her story continued to travel. Schools invited her to speak, local papers featured her experiments, and social media carried glimpses of her journey to countless viewers. But Emilia remained the same girl who ran before dawn, who experimented in silence, who believed in herself even when no one else did. She still falls, she still doubts, she still questions her strength. But every run, every failure, every victory reminds her, and everyone who watches, that the impossible is only impossible if you accept it. The moral? Courage is found in the steps you take when no one is watching. Limits exist only if you let them. And persistence. Persistence is the quiet force that turns the improbable into reality. So, what would you do if no one could define your limits? Are you ready to run your own race? If Emilia's journey inspired you, hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs courage, and subscribe for more stories.